What's up everybody, Mr. Wise here. Today I want to talk about the Micro Four Third camera from Panasonic, the Lumix GH4. Now this video is for beginner filmmakers who want to start making professional videos like weddings, music videos, corporate videos, etc. And for those that are looking for a professional video camera yet very cheap. Now the Panasonic GH4 came out 6 years back, and at that time it was king because it was the first mirrorless DSLR camera that could record true cinema 4K and Ultra HD internally. First, let me talk about why I think this camera is still the king in 2020. Number one is the price for this camera. The body alone costs between $500 and $700 and you can get cheaper lenses like the 12 to 60 millimeter around $400. So just around $1,000 you can have a full working camera with a lens and you can go out and start shooting. And the other reason why I think this camera is still the king is because it can record true cinema 4K 8-bit internally, and it can also record 4K 10-bit externally at 24 frames per second. It can also record slow motion up to 96 frames per second in full HD, and nothing comes closer to it at this price point. The third reason why I think this camera is still the king is it can shoot for longer hours without overheating, and its battery as well lasts very long. Like just one battery you can shoot almost a half day with this camera. When it comes to features, this camera is king because it has got extra professional features like focus peaking, zebra lines, Wi-Fi, etc. and so many other features in this camera. I'm not gonna go deeper into those. And the fifth reason why I still think this camera is still the king is because it's more like a universal camera. You can pretty much shoot anything with it, you know. I have personally used this camera on shoots like music videos, wedding videos, real estate videos, corporate videos, events videos, talk show or TV reality show programs, live performance videos, live streaming videos, church service programs, and many more. And it has never disappointed me. Whilst other cameras, when you shoot with them for longer hours, they overheat. Like you cannot shoot even a church programs or an event program. They overheat and you have to stop here and there. But this camera is the king. It has also never disappointed me in terms of image quality. Now the picture quality is very good at this price point. But then for a professional filmmaker, there are features that they look for in a camera. Now in my case, these are interchangeable lenses, microphone jack, headphone jack, SDI or HDMI output, as well as focus peaking and zebra lines. If the camera has got those features, according to me, that camera is pronounced a professional camera. Now going back to the GH4, it has all these features and even extra features that have been added in just this small body. Now this means that this camera can be rigged to be a heavy duty camera the same way that you can rig the Red Cinema camera or the Airy Alexa. Having said that, let me talk about the low light performance on the GH4 that most filmmakers have complained about. For professional filmmaking, before you go out for any kind of a shoot, you have to consider lighting condition on the set or in the environment where you're gonna be filming in. Just because the camera has got good low light performance, that doesn't mean that you can just pick up any camera and just go and filming everything and expect the camera to do all the magic in terms of lighting for you. So you have to first consider the lighting condition on the set where you're gonna go and shoot, or in the environment where you're gonna go and shoot. Let's say, for example, you're gonna go and shoot a music video. You have to look at how the music video is gonna be lit. Are you gonna use the natural light, or you need to bring with you some extra light? So, and when people they say this camera is bad in low light, even the Red Cinema camera, I've used it before several times. It's also lighting hungry. It's also light hungry. That camera, for you to use a Red camera, you need to light it up correctly. The same way that you can light up for a Red Cinema camera, that's the same way that you should light up also for the Lumix GH4, because it's also a professional camera. So you can't just pick up a camera and say, oh no, it's a professional camera, I'm gonna just film everything without lighting at all, without considering lighting at all. And no, that is not good, that's not professional. And the other thing that you can look at is to use faster lenses, like lenses with f1.2, f1.4, f1.5, f1.8. You know, it helps a lot in low light. So low light is no longer an issue with this camera if you want to use it professionally. Number 2, let's talk about the shallow depth of field. Now, because this camera has got a small sensor, a lot of people, they have complained with the shallow depth of field. Now, I don't understand what is wrong with the shallow depth of field, because if you observe correctly, even in Hollywood movies, it's not all the time that the background is blurred, you know, like they use the depth of field strategically. Like in my videos, I just like to blur the background enough to just create that cinematic feel and to separate my subject from the rest of the background, but not to blur everything, because I don't see the reason why I'll bring all the props on the set and just to blur them out, all of them, you know. So even in Hollywood movies, you find that they have set up a certain environment, the set, so they will blur a background just a little bit for you to still kind of see what is going in the background, but then create that cinematic feel at the same time, separating your subject from the rest of the background. So I don't see what is the problem with a shallow depth of field. I'm not a fan of a deeper depth of field anyway. So with me, the GH4 still makes it. But then if you are still hungry for that deeper depth of field, like where you want to blur everything, just remaining the subject alone, you can still use the faster lenses like the ones that I've just spoken to you before. The other thing is the viewing angle. Now, because this camera has got a micro four third sensor inside, it means every lens that you put on it, it becomes ×2. Let's say, for example, you put a 25mm lens on this camera, it becomes a 50mm lens. So it affects the viewing angle. Like almost every lens becomes like a telephoto lens. That to me is not a problem at all, because it is also a same thing that you take, let's say, for example, the Sony a7 III, and you put a 400mm lens there. It is also a telephoto. The lens choice also matters, whether you are using a full frame sensor or a micro four third camera. It depends what you want to shoot. Let's say, for example, you want to shoot a real estate video. I wouldn't pick a telephoto lens to go and shoot a real estate video, because I want those wider viewing angles. And talking about those ones, even these cameras, it has got lots of lenses that are wider enough, like the 7 to 14mm lens. I've used it on a lot of real estate videos that I have done. So when you throw that lens on this camera, it becomes 14 to 28mm lens, which is still very wide enough. So it's just up to your professionalism in terms of your lens choices. Whether you are shooting on a full frame camera, the lens that you put on the camera still matters. So before you go on to a filming as a professional, you have to consider what you're going to be filming, and then you consider the lens choice. Let's talk about the last thing that most people have complained about, is its poor autofocus system. Now, to me, that is not even a problem, because even in the Arri Alexa or the Red Cinema camera, they don't even have autofocus system in those cameras. So as a professional, to me, that is not a worry. If you have to use this camera professionally, you have to learn how to use manual focus as well. The other thing is no in-body image stabilization. So that to me as well is not a problem, because even the Arri Alexa or the Red Cinema camera don't have in-body stabilization. And those are professional cameras, and because I've already said that this one is a professional camera, that to me is not a worry. If you have to use this camera professionally, that shouldn't be a worry, because you can use stabilizing tools like the tripod, the sliders, the gimbals, and all other stabilization system. In 2020, I still consider this camera as king, because even after they have made all adjustment in other cameras that have come out after it, this camera is still holding up in terms of picture quality and in terms of professionalism. So if you're a beginner filmmaker who is looking for a camera, I still think you can consider the Lumix GH4. It is still the best. The image quality is good, it's compact, it has got a lot of features, the battery lasts longer, you can use it in any form of shooting, it will never disappoint you. And thank you so much for spending your time watching this video. If you have liked this video, please press the like button there, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe, because I'll be dropping these kind of videos every now and then, maybe every week, twice, where I talk about videography and a lot more stuff. So thank you so much for watching. Mr. Wise, over and out.